Thanks for staying with us. We are joined by Uzoamaka Igweike, the visionary founder of Loom Craft Chocolate. She will be diving into the future of Nigeria's cocoa industry and the rising global spotlight on African chocolate brands. We will explore how she transforms locally sourced Nigerian cocoa into premium handcrafted chocolate, the brand's growing impact on job creation and farmer empowerment, and the innovations shaping Nigeria's cocoa to chocolate value chain. It's a conversation you don't want to miss. Welcome to the show, madam.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm excited because I love chocolate. I love chocolate, and for many years, I've always wished that we have a lot of Nigerian, more local chocolates, more local companies, producing chocolate. I feel bad when I hear that. I remember when a few months ago we traveled to China, and then they took us to a chocolate place, and they were showing us the cocoa,
It was from Africa.
It was from Africa, and what they had done with the cocoa. I felt really embarrassed that these people have borrowed this thing and they are taking ownership of it and they are telling their story. So the first question I want to ask you is, how did you decide to start producing cocoa into, or manufacturing our cocoa into chocolate? What inspired you? Why did you decide to play in that field, and how has it been going so far?
Okay, I'll start with the first question. I was working my normal 9 to 5 at a tech company, and on the side, like with most Nigerians, we always have a side gig or a side hustle.
Okay.
Mine was baking. I learned how to bake from my mom, and I absolutely enjoyed baking with chocolate. But I found it was extremely difficult to get good quality chocolate, and even when you found it, it was very expensive. I also knew that we produce a lot of cocoa in Nigeria, the 4th or 5th largest producer of cocoa in the world, and it didn't make sense that it was difficult to get chocolate, and cocoa is the main ingredient for chocolate. So I decided to solve the problem for myself. That's how it started, basically. So I did some research. I was very lucky to get a grant from the Tony Elumelu Foundation.
Amazing.
And I started the business from there to support my baking business, but it has ballooned into a full-blown craft chocolate company.
Yeah.
And the reception, to your second question, the reception has been amazing. I mean, this is our 5th year, and the market has been great. The reception by Nigerians has been great. We don't do much of exports now, but we sell locally, and it's been enough to move our company from a 2-person company to a 19-person company, full-time staff.
Amazing. Well done.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So I also love chocolate.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Don't we all?
And like from what you said, Nigeria is one of the 5 largest producing countries in terms of cocoa. So please, how can we shift Nigeria from just exporting raw cocoa to actually producing locally and producing a premium chocolate locally with our own cocoa instead of exporting? Like from what PC also said, when they went to China, see what they are doing with the cocoa that they got from Africa. So how can Nigerians actually open up more factories to utilize the cocoa that we have here?
Okay, so I think the approach has to be some sort of a multi-stage approach, because we have issues in the farms on the quality side. So I feel like the first thing for us to do is to work on the quality, work on what the farmers are doing post-harvest, and then we can now work on infrastructure. Because even though chocolate is such a simple product, I mean, with just cocoa beans, good quality cocoa beans, and sugar, you can actually make chocolate in your blender. It's that simple.
Wow.
But when you want to commercialize it, then you need infrastructure, you need the equipment, you need the machines. But the good thing is that we already have the market, right? So moving from where we are to value addition locally wouldn't take too much. But in between, there's a lot of infrastructure investment that needs to happen.
Let's personalize the
from
question.
logistics, moving the cocoa.
So what's Loom Craft
from
doing?
the farms to the production.
Yeah, so we have another question coming in for you. Nima, go ahead.
So what is Loom Craft doing to
right.
transform Nigeria cocoa into high quality chocolate?
Did you get that?
What are
we
you
work
doing?
first. Yeah, I got that. I got that.
Okay.
Yes. So we work with the farmers first of all, because to make good quality chocolate, you actually need exceptional cocoa beans. So we teach them exactly how to post-process. So there are different activities that happen on the farm, fermentation and drying. We teach them how to do it well. We support them with inputs. We support them with training and the actual equipment they need to ferment and dry properly. And then on our own side as well, we produce exceptional chocolate, right? And we've invested in a lot of research, a lot of experimentation to get it right. Then to make it a bit different, from what you would get from around the world, we infuse our own local produce into our chocolate to make it both, interesting and also of very high quality. So things like ginger, cashew, sesame, we infuse it into our chocolates to give consumers, a beautiful range of products.
Amazing.
Okay, so immediately I knew you were coming on the show. I had to go and look for your Instagram page. I went to be eating the chocolate in my mind. And you really do have amazing branding and lovely variations of chocolate. But as someone, all of us here actually do business outside being on the show. And this morning I was still complaining to Nima that I'm shutting down my farm, human resource challenges, the math was not mathing. And so my question to you is, I realized almost at every question you answered, you kept saying, infrastructure. What are the key challenges that are not allowing the businesses and ideas that Nigerians have scale to proper capacity of the owners and the founders of those business ideas?
Okay, so the first thing for us, which is important in chocolate making, is power supply. So our machines, like for this year, they've run 24/7. And that's a lot of power. And a lot of the times we have to generate it ourselves. So that's one challenge. And then the next challenge is infrastructure for cold chain distribution. Because, we don't really manufacture chocolate in Nigeria. Even the consumption is not great. But transporting chocolate from the factory and distributing it across the country means that, you need to control the temperature so that it doesn't melt, right? So that's one infrastructure challenge that we have, actually moving it. Currently, it's much more expensive to move a chocolate bar than any other product that is not heat sensitive. So those are the two biggest challenges we have in Nigeria for chocolate.
So with this challenge now, right? Because it's a huge challenge, and we know the humidity and the climate that we have faced in Nigeria is a hot climate. So do you think that Nigeria has the opportunities, to become a major player in the global chocolate market? And if yes, how can we go about it? And how can we also go about curbing this huge challenge that you're talking about?
So there are techniques that you can use in your factory to ensure the chocolate is heat resistant. It's called tempering. So you need to get that right. So at a normal room temperature, your chocolate is going to be fine. But if it goes to things like 37, 40, that's when the issue comes. So you don't really need too much. You don't need a refrigerator. You just need something cool to transport your chocolate, right? So then to your next question about what we need to, if we have the potential, of course we have the potential. But first of all, let's look at the local market. We are about over 200 million people, and the population in the EU, that is like the largest market for chocolate, is just double that. So if we can add value locally and maximize the population that we have, we can already build an ecosystem that can sustain jobs, that can sustain those local cocoa farming communities, and then we can also then export a part of what we produce. So the possibilities and the potential is actually very huge.
Yeah, so I know that chocolate is not original to us. We have the cocoa, right? But the Ndocha took the cocoa and then made something sweet that people whose taste have, expanded, refined, will like chocolate. So it's not really are local to us, the chocolate as a product. But I remember there was a time at the Lagos International Trade Fair, I was a vendor there. There were some, I think they were Sierra Leoneans or Liberians, I can't remember which country now came, and they came with their own homemade chocolates. It was a brand at the time, and there was a story around it. They weaved the story around it. It was handcrafted chocolate. It was not done in those very big factories. It was locally done, and it was an interesting story. So when you get to their stand, they'll give you that story, and you want to have a taste of the chocolate. And it was natural. It tasted different from the very refined ones that we are used to, but it was a good thing. I'm asking this question because how do you retain authenticity as an African producing chocolates compared to the people who we've exported cocoa to and their own type of chocolates? Should we look into creating a sort of chocolate that suits more of our local, and then give it that local story and present it out there? Or do we still manufacture our chocolates to, sort of compete with what they are already doing? I don't know if you understand the question.
I completely get you. And storytelling is a powerful tool to actually connect with consumers and to get your products out there. And in fact, that's how we have actually survived. That's how we have thrived.
Yeah.
And the first thing that we did is lean into the story of local, lean into the fact. In fact, the word loom comes from heirloom, which is how we view, Nigerian cocoa as something precious that has been handed down over the past 100 years. So we lean into the local story, and that's why we also incorporate other Nigerian grown food, so that we set ourselves apart from what the world is doing.
Okay.
That way we can attract both consumers that are in Nigeria, local consumers, and also present something never seen before to global markets as well.
Thank you so much, Uzoamaka.
Storytelling is a very powerful tool, and I think the approach.
Let's take a short break.
Leaning to our local traditions. Yes.
Okay, let's take a very tiny break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Yes, I am.
Okay, we have another question for you.
Awesome. So one of the things that I find interesting about entrepreneurs that add value to product is the thought process and the value chain, the opportunities, the different areas people can come in. I wanted to find out from you which gap you have spotted in the cocoa to chocolate value chain. Maybe distribution, maybe cocoa. Which area of the value chain do you feel pose opportunity for many young Nigerians who are watching and saying, I would like to do what Uzoamaka is doing?
The biggest opportunity is actually the actual value addition. So based on research, when you export cocoa unprocessed, right, you are retaining only between 5 to 7% of the full value, right? So imagine if it's 100,000 naira market, it means that you're retaining only 5,000 naira.
Imagine.
So that's where the biggest opportunity is. We actually need to move from, exporting raw cocoa to adding value. And the value addition, there are so many different
Ways.
Lines on the chain, right? You can actually press cocoa, get cocoa butter and cocoa powder. That's value addition. Or take it all the way to making chocolate. And even beyond the value addition, another very interesting opportunity is tourism. So ecotourism, you could have farms that have resorts on them that also do some sort of value addition in situ, on site, right? So you can attract people that are going on holidays to come visit a farm, see the process of growing cocoa, see the process of making chocolate. And it doesn't need to be too fancy. Something small, a very small setup where they can actually make their own chocolate, taste their own chocolate, and just have a beautiful experience. So that's one opportunity that I feel is missing. And then as you increase your local processing, gives opportunities as well for people to distribute. Distribution, sales, and trading in any product is, a beautiful opportunity that people can key into.
Yes. So, do you think by going through your profiles and also what you said on how you started in terms of getting the grant from the Tolu Elumelu Foundation, so do you think that having access to grants has also helped you in terms of starting and upscaling your business? And how do you think that other young people watching that also have an interest in doing the same thing that you're doing, because the market is huge? How do you think that they can go about assessing this grants, and what are the opportunities available to them to succeed?
Okay, so yes, the grants were extremely helpful for us to start and for us to scale. First of all, the Tony Elumelu grant allowed us to experiment, right? And when you're experimenting, there's a cost to experimentation.
True.
But we didn't have to worry about that. So we could go all out, and really explore several variables, right? We could go all out, we could do all our registrations, NAFDAC, without any worries about where the funding was going to come from. So that was extremely helpful. The NEPC, National Export Promotion Council, also gave us a grant. They helped us actually renovate our factory. It was a school before, but they helped us turn it into a proper world-class factory. So the grants have been extremely helpful. I can't minimize the effects and the impact that they've had. And one thing I would advise young people is to not shy away. I think that when people start out in businesses, they tend to run away from authority or regulators. That's the natural approach. But I feel once you go there, you shouldn't be afraid of anybody. Walk into any NEPC, walk into BOI, do a lot of research. If you go to ChatGPT and say grants in Nigeria, you'll see all the grants that you can possibly apply for. There's Flourish Africa, there's Brave Women, so many grants that you can apply for. So when you approach these organizations, of course, you have to pay your taxes, you have to do, you have to register properly, but then you also gain access to all the opportunities, including cash breaks, for example.
Okay. Amazing. Do you think, let me ask you about your projections. Do you think that in the nearest future, our customers will likely come more from outside the shores of Nigeria, where there are going to be high demand of our locally produced chocolates, which is going to be way different?
How big is the markets
from theirs? Do you think that's where we're heading to?
For us, we are focused on building the local market because it's more sustainable.
Okay.
Right? When you look too much towards export, yes, they have the cash, they have the disposable income, but it's not sustainable because then you're subject to their regulations, you're subject to all sorts of limitations. For example, the EUDR, for example, it states that you can't export cocoa that has been farmed on deforested land and without showing proof, right? That your cocoa has been farmed properly. So when you export, when you base everything on exports, you're also exposed. So we are taking a balanced approach of building the local market
first.
Because if we are going to start consuming chocolates and cocoa products, we have to build the palette, we have to educate people. That is a more sustainable market because the market is here. You don't need to do a lot of let's say regulations. You don't have a lot of regulations to align with for export. So it's for me, I feel the best approach is to balance it. A little bit on export and build the market locally.
Okay,
that way it's more sustainable.
Fantastic. So I'm looking at your business model, and I see many people that are probably also online watching and thinking that have you at any point in time regretted going into this business? Have you felt like, let me just pack up and japa or something? And what do you do in those moments when challenges come your way?
Okay, so for me, entrepreneurship is about solving problems. It's like a string of problems that you have to solve. So if you go in with that mindset that it's going to be tough, you're already prepared, and when those challenges come, it's easier for you to approach them. And even as you solve them, just know that tomorrow another one is coming up. That's your job, solving problems. And I believe if you approach it that way, And no, I've never ever imagined
quitting.
And abandoning my business.
So much.
We're employing 19 people, so
I'm so we're proud of you.
I'm really proud of you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Uzoamaka Igweike, for joining us today to share your vision.
Thank you.
And we wish you the best in your business, your chocolate business. Hopefully, I was thinking when I saw your name, and then that the fact we're going to be talking about chocolate. I thought you were going to be an in-house
So that we
physical
can,
guest today,
can
so
harass her
that you would
to.
have given us
Don't
more
worry, she's in Abuja with the
chocolate.
order.
And I actually brought chocolates,
Oh,
right?
no.
I didn't know that I was going to
be on Zoom. Oh, that's fine. Thank you so
I was
much.
going to be joining remotely.
Yeah,
yes.
thank you for joining us today.
We'll
We hope to
patronize.
hear more from you from time to time. And thank you so much, ladies, for your
Yeah.
wonderful contributions today. Alaja, Angel, that has told us that some people eat sacrifice that Nigerians have put
On the streets.
on the street. That's all we can take on the show today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We'll see you again tomorrow for another fantastic one. Bye-bye now.